Hey, it's Lando from the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Welcome to playoffs. It's the waiver wire for week now 14. You're in the playoffs. And if you're watching this and you're not in the playoffs, you are the true hero here. This is the time to still pay attention to your fantasy league, even if you're out of it, because this is where maybe some sleepers come out and have big games. If you're still allowed to add and drop, if you're in a toilet bowl, hey, if your commissioner allows you to do it, keep on doing it. If you're in a keeper league, some of these players may be valuable. At the top of our list, we're talking once again about Cam Akers, the running back for the LA Rams. He had a really good game this past week. He is number one on my priority, and he might be a fantasy viable asset going into the playoffs. I want to see, he played about a 60% snap share this past week. I want to see that go up. Darrell Henderson went down with a bit of an injury, so hopefully we can count on Akers going forward, and he will help us win some championships. He could be a flex option going forward. Make sure to tune into our channel all week. We are doing live streams all week, and we'll help you out with some start sits, some streamers, some ads drops, all that stuff. If you have specific questions, get into our DMs. We are snap_fantasy on Instagram and Twitter, and we can get you all sorted out on there. Just keep in mind that usually about Wednesday, we get all of our rankings and projections done. So if you're asking me today about what your lineup looks like next week, it's going to be hard to project. Lots happens during the week. So first of all, Cam Akers, he's still available in a lot of leagues, about 60% of leagues he's owned. So potentially he is owned or available in your league. We need to keep in mind about the Antonio Gibson toe injury. This is something that happened after 2 plays in the game. Peyton Barber got in the end zone. J.D. McKissic got a lot of work. J.D. McKissic is only 40% owned. So J.D. McKissic is probably available in your league, and you should definitely add him, especially if you need a spot start. I will look at their schedule going forward, and we'll see either way if you, regardless in a PPR league or not, J.D. McKissic should be a good add. They play San Francisco, Seattle, and Carolina. That's a really good schedule. Would have been great for Antonio Gibson, and maybe he's not going to miss extended time. Either way, I think J.D. McKissic increases that playing time. If it's a turf toe, it might be a week or 2 for Antonio Gibson. Hopefully he's available for your Week 16 championship if that's the case. Peyton Barber, I'm not too thrilled about Peyton Barber. I know he is available in your league. He's only owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues and on sleepers, so he's a spot start, but I really don't feel super comfortable adding Peyton Barber, especially with San Francisco next week. Going forward, the running back positions, this is the time to possibly add your handcuffs. If your starter goes down and you just need a spot start, this is where you should grab the Latavius Murray, Tony Pollards, even Alexander Madison. I know he had an appendix surgery. Maybe add Mike Boone even if you are not a Dalvin Cook owner. So make sure to add your handcuffs if you have them. Even Duke Johnson if you're an owner of David Johnson. But this is the time where if you have a fringe wide receiver that you're really not starting, drop that guy and add a running back. Other guys on the list you could look at: Gus Edwards, definitely own Jamal Williams. Philip Lindsay can now be owned. I thought he was hurt last week, but he came in and did okay. Melvin Gordon had the bigger game, but Philip Lindsay was still involved here and there. He's still a very good running back. See if Philip Lindsay is available in your league. Ito Smith has been more productive than Brian Hill, and Todd Gurley is banged up once again. It's not a great backfield to target, but again, worth a shot maybe if you're desperate. Also, Carlos Hyde is a pretty good handcuff to have if Chris Carson is banged up again. It sounds like he's banged up again. For the wide receiver position, Corey Davis is at the top of our list this week. You can still add Michael Pittman, but I really like Allen Lazard going forward. He is one of my priority wide receiver ads of the week. I really like Allen Lazard. Tim Patrick looked great. It looked like he had a really good relationship with the quarterback in Denver, with Drew Lock, And Jerry Jeudy just hasn't really been that great. You can drop Jerry Jeudy. He should not be added on any playoff team. And Tim Patrick is not bad. Kiki QT stepped in really well for the missing Will Fuller. He got the most yards on that team. Brandon Cooks went down with a concussion, or he was evaluated for a concussion, but he came back in the game. So he has had 5 concussions in his career. So if Brandon Cooks actually misses time, QT would be very, very viable. Chad Hansen was involved as well. And then potentially the tight ends, Akins and Fells, could be also a viable stream week to week. Rashad Higgins had a massive game. Denzel Mims is one of my favorite rookie wide receivers. They're forcing him the ball. I know Crowder had 2 touchdowns, but I still think Denzel Mims is a great option. The other guys, I mean, you can look at Jalen Reagor, Sammy Watkins, Darius Slayton if he was dropped, Jacoby Myers if he was dropped, but a lot of these guys are fairly owned. It depends on if you need a spot start or not. Make sure to tune into our live streams throughout the week, and I can let you know exactly where I have these guys ranked throughout the week, and we can get them fit into your lineup. It depends if you need a massive win. If you're going against the number 1 seed and you're just sneaking in the playoffs, you need high upside players. That's where some of these guys like Rashad Higgins or Jalen Reagor come into account, where the Damiere Birds of the world aren't really a high upside play. They're not in a volume offense, and that's kind of where that lies. So we'll figure that out together this week. The tight end position, I mean, if Logan Thomas is available, you must add Logan Thomas. He had a massive game again. He is an every week start. Like I said weeks ago, he is involved in that offense week in and week out. You have to add him. The tight end position as a whole is terrible. So if Logan Thomas is available, hey, scoop that guy up. Cole Comet seems to be the guy in Chicago. It's touchdown dependent. We know it, guys. If you're here every week, the tight end position is relying on a touchdown. The Robert Tunyons of the world aren't available anymore because they are massively owned in fantasy football. But Cole Kmet, if he has supplanted Jimmy Graham in that Chicago Bears offense, I mean, he could be a viable option. It's hard to say, guys, with that one. Jordan Reed, I mean, hey, if he stays healthy, he's an option, because I thought Kyle Rudolph was an option last week, but he put up a big old 0. So, I'm probably dropping Kyle Rudolph this week. And if Irv Smith is back healthy, maybe you add Irv Smith. But it's inconsistent week to week with tight ends. This week Kyle Rudolph went from 8 targets to 2 targets and 0 receptions this past week. It's so hard to predict the tight end position. You could still start Kyle Rudolph if you're desperate. I'm probably not going to recommend it this week after he busted me. Eric Ebron, much better. Trey Burton didn't have a great game, but he's fine. We should monitor if Jonnu Smith throughout the week is healthy, because Anthony Firkser is available as well in a lot of leagues, and he could be viable. That is if Jonnu remains to be out. QB streams of the week, I think you can go with Matt Stafford versus Green Bay. You could go with Sam Darnold versus Seattle. That would be gross. You could go with Mitch Trubisky versus Houston, and Andy Dalton potentially versus Cincinnati. Matt Ryan, if he's available, great, but he's fairly owned in most leagues. The DSTs, the defenses of the week, this is the time you should add a couple. You could add Washington. They play Seattle and Nick Mullins. You could play on the other side too. You could play San Francisco versus Washington in that same matchup. Seattle versus New York Jets is one of my favorites. And you could go with Kansas City at Miami, especially if Tua plays. Even if Fitzmagic plays, he throws interceptions. We know that. And the Kansas City defense has a pretty good defense. You could look at Carolina versus Denver. It's not my favorite option. The Chargers versus Atlanta is a really good option as well. When Nick Bosa is healthy, they get pressure on the quarterback. I know it was a bad showing versus New England, but I think it's a different kind of matchup there versus Atlanta. This is the week to, this is the time to add a couple defenses. If there's a really good defense on your waiver wire that doesn't have a good matchup, like New England, for example, just add them. You could easily roster 2 defenses at this time. If you need specific advice on your matchups for your fantasy playoffs, make sure to get me on my DMs. It's snap_fantasy. My personal account is Lando_FF on Twitter. And we will see you all week, guys. Good luck in week 1 of the playoffs, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.